Hello everyone. I recently made a video discussing about the Beatles and why the whole is greater than the sum of their parts. And it kind of got me thinking when talking about the Beatles, on a similar topic, but more of covering the Beatles. And I wanted to discuss this. It's the Hollyridge Strings. And Stu Phillips was the conductor of the Hollyridge Strings. For some reason, when I first picked this up, didn't know what to expect. But when I picked it up not because of Hollyridge Strings, but because it's the Beatles. Anything Beatles will always catch my eye. And I never knew who Hollyridge Strings was. And for some reason, I always thought it was Hollywood Strings. Even when buying this, I always thought it was the Hollywood Strings, but no, it's Hollyridge Strings, and I've never heard of them. So before I get into the Hollyridge Strings, I discussed this in another topic, I think it was the Paul Simon Songbook, but I was trying to think of artists, whether it's a group, whether it's an orchestra, a jazz band, blues band, whatever, that would produce an album of Beatles songs. Now, Beatles and their discography, there's so many different artists from different genres that would cover at least one song, maybe two songs of the Beatles, maybe a bunch of them, but never put them like in a whole album dedicated to it, like the Hollyridge Strings that I showed. Now there are some, and for some reason they seem to be orchestra related, like a classical orchestra type thing. First thing that pops into my mind would be the Pops Orchestra, the Boston Pops, with Fiedler. I'm pretty sure I don't have an album of his of the Beatles, but I do have a few of his that cover other artists like Paul Simon, I think the Beach Boys, and I think I've heard of him covering the Beatles. I just don't have it, but I'm pretty sure he did cover. I even have an album by the Canadian Brass. They did a cover of the Beatles. I have it on CD. I'm pretty sure George Martin himself, the fifth Beatle, covering, Beatles, his own song. I think he had an orchestra or session musicians that orchestra related that would cover the Beatles songs. I don't know if he put out an album or it was for a TV series or a TV show, but I know he did that. But otherwise, I couldn't think of anyone else from any genre. Again, jazz, orchestras, or something like that would cover the Beatles entirely in an album. So that's why this is kind of unique. I've never seen anything like the Beatles Songbook by the Hollyridge Strings. I'm going to show the other album I have from them, the Beatles Songbook by the Hollyridge Strings. And when I listened to this, I was actually impressed. I mean, I'm not a big fan of like instrumental, but kind of purely string. Well, it's not all strings. I don't think it is, but that type of like a classical style covers. I like more jazz style covers. Heck, I even go blues because I kind of like a little more guitar or horns or something. Those types of covers. That to me, I would enjoy those more. But for some reason, from what I've heard from these two albums, damn, this is pretty impressive. I was pretty impressed and amazed actually because, again, I didn't expect much from basically a string cover of Beatles from an enjoyment standpoint, but I really did enjoy these. And there's two reasons. First off, it's not your typical like string, like background music. Now, I did listen to this as background music when I'm doing work. But here's the thing. It's not one of those elevator or style music or something where it goes in one ear and comes out the other and you don't even notice it. And sometimes for me, when doing work or trying to concentrate on something with music in the background, that's what I kind of want to have so that it doesn't bother me when I'm doing work or trying to concentrate or focus on something. When I played the Hollyridge Strings, yes, it's background music, but it's noticeable. It's notable in the sense I know it. I hear it. I can tell it's Beatles. I can actually, kind of go with the melody and so forth, yet it doesn't affect my work or my focus or anything like that, especially when I was playing it doing work. That's the first thing. So that, to me, that tells me that their playing is not your typical background music. It's actually it's real good music. I mean, if you notice it, right? If you can notice it, it's good music. And no, I don't mean it's like bad either. Notice bad. It's notice good. Okay. Number two, the music, when I listen to the Hollyridge Strings, especially these Beatles, they're kind of like the sign of their times. Like they made these, I think, during the time when the Beatles were hits, right? So right in the 60s. And the music, the sound, everything is kind of a product of that, of the 60s. So it has, in my terms, a lounge music style effect to it. I don't know if it's how the sound, how they produce it. Maybe it's the arrangements and I would like to get to the arrangements as well, but the arrangements of the instruments and how they play it. Or it's like, from a production standpoint, like there's like a certain type of reverb that is kind of indicative of the 60s type of sound, I guess. I don't know how to explain it that well, but it has that loungy effect. And if you kind of like lounge music, the 60s lounge stuff, this has that in spades for a string instrumental covering Beatles songs. And obviously the Beatles, their music majority was in the 60s. So, this is like a perfect, combination of covering the Beatles with the string arrangements. At the time, the Beatles were at their peaks. So it wasn't too far off. It's not like an 80s cover of a Beatles where you have synth stuff. It's purely of the time, especially at the time of the Beatles when they were popular. So it's like a perfect combination, perfect timing of all that. And that's another thing about it too. It has that kind of loungy style effect to it, and I love it. I absolutely love it. And the third, I think the biggest thing, and it's probably related to what I just mentioned, the first two, are the arrangements. It's not your straight like string follow the melody to the T. They don't go off script or anything by any means. They're pretty much, I think, if the original Beatles song was like 2.5 minutes, they would be 2.5 minutes plus or minus 10 seconds or something like that. I mean, they don't go off script or anything by any means. However, the way they I guess the arrangements is the most appropriate term for it. They arrange the strings, how it should be played in one way, and then when they get to a bridge, and it's a different way. It's not straight, by the book string and play this all the way. There's some thought to it, and how they arranged each song of the Beatles so that it's not only not boring or by the book, but it has a feel that, I guess taking advantage of the personnel of the Hollyridge Strings to play it, and that's why and the arrangements are good. That's what I'm getting at. The way it's arranged for each song, it's noticeable and it's really effective and pleasing. So credit to Stu Phillips. I guess he's the main conductor for all that, and it's pretty impressive. I mean, I've really enjoyed these two albums, and not knowing anything about Hollyridge, once after listening to these two albums, I had to look them up. And I realized that they actually made half a dozen, I believe, of these Beatles songbooks. Now, I don't think they're all called songbooks. I'm pretty sure one of them had all four Beatles names on it as an album, but they really did justice to the Beatles, and it's not on just one album. They did 6 albums of theirs, and I'm actually kind of looking forward to get all the other four. And I actually picked this up too. They not only did the Beatles, they did covers of other popular artists at the time. Here is the Four Seasons I have, which is good too. I like this. So I think they did Paul Simon or Simon and Garfunkel. I'm pretty sure they did other stuff as well. And to summarize, I'm from a kind of a Beatle covering their songs in an album, let alone 6 that the Hollyridge Strings did. I haven't heard anything as good as what the Hollyridge Strings have. And again, I don't know many that do it. And again, I'm going to eliminate jazz or not jazz, but single 1 or 2 covers of Beatles songs in an album. I don't consider that. I'm going straight out a songbook, an entire album dedicated to the Beatles songs. And from what I've heard and listened to thus far, I don't think anything comes as close to the Hollyridge Strings and what they've done. Knowing this now, I think Hollyridge Strings would have been like the absolute perfect cover, instrumental covers of popular artists. And I wish there would be something like that these days. I don't know if there's anyone that does it, and I don't want to get into like symphony orchestras as well, like the Boston Pops. I know they do stuff like this, but like a dedicated instrumental covers that would cover popular songs. Now, these days popular songs are, I don't know how you would cover, but and I don't know if an artist these days, the past 15, 20 years, how many artists you could cover, because I don't think they would have the songs to cover to begin with from a quantity standpoint. But let alone how you would do it, like especially like a string version of it. I don't know. But anyway, I just wanted to bring the Hollyridge Strings up. I highly recommend it, especially so far the Beatles Songbook. I've been very impressed with it. It's definitely worth a shot. It's not boring. It's a great way of doing string instrumental arrangements of Beatles songs, or really any song that would be popular. And highly recommend it. Give this a shot if you haven't heard it. Hollyridge Strings, Stu Phillips. All right. That's all I've got to say. Thanks a lot. Bye.